My thanks to Ronald from Portland in Oregon for sending me in a recording of his improvised blues playing last week. Technically, Ron's playing demonstrated plenty of ability to play licks and phrases. Some of these were familiar blues licks that I'm sure Ron had picked up from listening to the great blues guitarists. And others I'm sure he had evolved himself. For example, I heard him open with this pair of licks, played over the intro chords E7 to D7 as an intro to a blues in A. And this is a great example of taking a lick that works in one position of the blues scale and recycling it in another. Here you can see in this case how the lick started in the first position. Here I've highlighted the notes used in the lick. And here you can see how Ron used the same physical fingering pattern, but selecting notes from further up the fretboard in the third position. What was interesting to me was how Ron had altered this lick very subtly, just by one note. In the first lick, Ron had played this last note of the lick slightly with a slight bend to give a G sharp. But when he moved up here, he kept the note straight to produce a C note. Now, why this works so well in this particular case has to do with how these notes relate to the chords that Ron was playing these licks over. Bending the note G up to G sharp works at that point because the note G sharp is part of the E7th chord that was being played over. But then when he came up to the 12th and 10th fret here to play the same lick again, keeping that as a C works because we're now playing over a D7th chord, which you can see includes that C note there. Now I'm sure Ron will correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my guess that he made that little adjustment purely instinctively in response to how the lick he was playing sounded at that moment in time against the chord changes. And while there's nothing wrong with sitting down in advance and working these sort of adjustments out, it is, in my view, more important to develop this knack of making such corrections on the fly, using your instincts, using your ears. And how you develop that instinct is simply to spend a lot of time jamming against backing tracks and making sure that you really listen very carefully to how every idea you try sounds against the particular chords you're trying them over at that time on the backing track. If you'd like to learn more ideas like this, or get some specific help with making that difficult transition from just knowing your scales to being able to play improvised solos, then why not take advantage of the free 30-day trial that we have over on the secretguitarteacher.com site. Now I'm off to practice.